Hello, my name is Skylar Schwartz, and you're listening to another episode of the Minnesota Fandom Factor. Today, I have a very special guest, the director of PF Studios, board chair of Midwest Mosaic, runner of Confluence, oil painter, and muralist. It's Leslie Barlow. Say hi.
Hey everybody. Hi. Thanks for having me, Skylar.
Yeah, it's great. It's really good to have you.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Fandom Factor.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. So first, tell me a little bit about Confluence.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. I came representing my Storm jersey for the occasion.
Nice.
Yeah, Confluence started in 2023 just as an idea to create another community convention that celebrated all the things that we love as geeks and nerds. So whether it's gaming, comics, cosplay, I don't know, deep discussions about our favorite TV shows, movies, etc. All that
Yeah.
stuff. But through a BIPOC lens. And I shared that idea with some friends like very early on in the year, and I was like, do you all think we could do this? Do you think we could do this year? And like people seemed to be really excited about the idea and on board, and so we just kind of like amassed a team. I think our first meeting was in March 2023, and then by November we had our first con, and that was called Confluence, a Cultured Multiverse. And we took a year off because we're all volunteers that run the con. We all have other jobs and other obligations and everything.
Sure.
So we wanted to kind of go on our own pace, and we decided that Confluence is going to be biannual so that we can take some time off and then recalibrate and then plan the next one.
Okay.
So
cool.
we're in our second convention right now. So the Confluence, this one's called Futures in Color, is going to be happening October 18th and 19th of this year.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's also like a huge collaboration, which is like really exciting, even though I had this idea and wanting to see an event that celebrated Black and brown people in kind of nerd space.
Sure.
I didn't want to do it alone, and something that big, nobody can do that alone. And I was like, I bet you this is going to be a really awesome project and opportunity to collaborate with some really dope people. So like a bunch of friends that like either I had collaborated with before or I wanted to collaborate with, but I just hadn't had the opportunity. Like this became like the big project that we could connect on and make possible. So I think that's probably been the best part about it so far, is being able to work on something with a bunch of cool people who all have their own fandoms and their own expertise and things that they like about con, and we all get to kind of like work on our favorite parts of the con together.
Yeah. You mentioned that like you wanted to have something BIPOC centered. Is that what inspired you to start Confluence?
I've been going to conventions for, let's see, by the time Confluence started, like 13 years by that point. And so I was really craving spaces where, people like me were not in the minority in those spaces. I was kind of sick of seeing like, oh, the POC perspective panel. And like that was like the only panel that elevated the voices and opinions of people of color.
Yeah.
I was like, why can't our perspectives be everywhere, in the whole con? And it also came down to like the special guests, the vendors. I was just like seeing such limited representation, just even in the artists that were represented or tabling at cons. And I had just had some of my own experiences of feeling a little bit like marginalized or excluded at some of the cons I went to. Not every con, but I had enough experiences where I was like, I feel like we could do something about this. Like have some kind of alternative con that folks like me could go to, and we're not one of a few, but we are in the majority, and it's a bunch of topics and creators and things that represent our cultural stories or histories or whatever
Sure.
in one space. And then, of course, we can also still go to the other cons as well, but like having that kind of safer space where you can, like, it's funny, you dress up, but also like let the mask down, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I felt like that was just really necessary. So I love going to con. I love cosplaying. I just actually got to go to San Diego Comic Con for the first time. Had
Awesome.
so much fun. And I've started to notice actually over the years that cons in general have definitely started becoming more diverse.
Sure, yeah.
So Confluence is just kind of like another layer of that conversation. Like if all of the special guests and panelists and topics are coming from, either a Black or Indigenous or person of color, that lens, how does our perspective shift on, like, what is possible in these kinds of spaces
Yeah.
and what kinds of topics, we can dive deeper into.
Yeah. And I appreciate something in that you I noticed that you have like very adaptable like pricing, like, oh, if you can't
Mm-hmm.
afford this, we have a cheaper option, or like you can volunteer if you can't afford it maybe, and I think that that's really good and that offers another way for it to be very accessible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, accessibility is definitely something we were keeping in mind from the beginning. Um, Especially as somebody who, in the first several years that I was going to conventions, like it was hard to be able to afford that ticket price. I remember
sure, yeah.
always really like stressing out about being able to afford the ticket to con. And we just didn't want people to have to wrestle with that notion.
Yeah.
If they've been craving a space where they want to be around a bunch of other nerds of color and they just don't have the funds to make that a reality, we want to make sure that they're there anyways.
Sure, yeah.
So, yeah, we have the ability to purchase just one ticket for one day instead of the whole weekend, which decreases the cost. And then we have a scholarship fund as well. So it's amazing. Some people actually will pay a little bit more for their ticket, so more than the cost of the ticket, to support the scholarship fund, which then allows us to give that to other folks that want to attend and need some financial
Yeah.
support.
That's really, really cool. I wanted to ask you, what has been a big challenge in trying to run this convention?
Oh, um, hmm. It's a really good question. I think anytime you undertake a huge project like a convention,
Yeah.
it's just challenging is just like the name of the game. Like it's just a challenge in general. It's a lot of details you have to track. A lot. We're an all volunteer organization, and so because of that, we're really big. There's a lot of people that take each a small slice, so that nobody feels like the burden is too much on one person, or at
Sure.
least that's how it's supposed to work, right? And it works pretty well like that for the most part. We have a pretty good synergy, but because of that, like communication across, a team of 35 can be
Yeah.
kind of intense, and trying to make sure everybody knows what everybody else is doing. And then, in an ideal world, this wouldn't be volunteer, right? So that I think cons, it's just naturally a part of the culture to have folks volunteering at the convention.
Sure, yeah.
Volunteers get free tickets. Oftentimes, they get, kind of like a behind the scenes look and how the con is run. And so being a volunteer I think we'll always have volunteers. But in terms of the planning team side, the people who are like orchestrating the event, it would be really amazing if some of those folks were paid, right? Those are paid staff positions. And
Yeah.
I think that's a huge challenge, is that we just don't have enough funding. We break even like all of the ticket
Yeah.
funds, and like we get some grants to help cover our costs, and all of that goes to the operating costs of the event. There's
Yeah.
like nothing left at the end. And so, yeah, in an ideal world, that wouldn't be a challenge, right? That we would have enough abundance there that we could make this event happen
Yeah.
and compensate everybody for all of the time and energy that they put in. Although it is a labor of love, right? Like we're
Sure.
all doing it because we love it. I think the other main challenge is getting the word out about our
Oh, yeah.
con. So we since we're pretty new, we're still establishing our footing like in the Twin Cities, and even though it's a Northeast Minneapolis based con, we of course want to reach even beyond Minnesota.
Sure, yeah.
And so connecting folks to like what we're making here is really important, but how do you get that word out? A lot of word of mouth, we have newsletters and things like that, but I think um it just takes time to let people know you exist. But like being on your podcast obviously is like one really helpful way for us to be able to get some more visibility about what we're creating.
Yeah. Yeah, something I've noticed is also um with what you said earlier about not being able to be like paid. I feel like even at like what you could consider to be like a really big convention, most people in the higher up are still volunteering.
I know.
Like it's kind of wild.
It's like
Like
it's a part of the culture. Like
yeah,
it's not really, I think some people assume just because an event is really big that like everybody organizing is making tons of money. But
yeah,
that's just not the case.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
We're doing it cuz we love it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'd agree with you that it is definitely like a part of the fan culture.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um how do you feel that Confluence relates to your other work as an artist?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, because of course Confluence kind of emerged from just like a deep desire to see a space like this happen
Sure.
from a lot of personal experiences, both positive and negative around cons. And uh as it started building, I was like, oh, you know what, like this is creating this space doesn't feel dissimilar from other kinds of spaces that I've catalyzed or been a part of, like a planning team. And I think it's just kind of a nature of my arts practice to want to be a part of community gathering spaces, whether it's like just to have dialogue, whether it's to make art together, whether it's to support a specific action or cause, or um, yeah, there's a lot of different ways that people can activate around something or just be in
Sure.
community with one another. And I like to be a part of those things or help start those things. And so you can see that in my work with PF Studios, wanting to create a space for marginalized artists to have community and to also help build their arts careers and practices up in relationship with each other. And, as they're kind of establishing their arts practices. I've done that with a mural collective, Creatives After Curfew. We were painting for years together around the Twin Cities, making murals and also bringing in, like the neighborhood, different communities, volunteers, to make art together. Um, and I've done that with Midwest Mosaic, formerly Midwest Mixed, but that was, I was a part of helping bring folks together to have dialogue about around race and identity in the Twin Cities, and helped start uh, a conference with that. Gosh, I even worked at Northern Lights. We would put on Northern Spark, which was like an all night arts festival. So much fun. So,
Cool.
like, I think I'm just really drawn to being in space with people and being in dialogue with people and like seeing what's possible through collaboration. um and I've started to call that part of my arts practice my
Sure.
community engaged practice. It's like before I would have just like called that like, oh, I'm just in community or like, I'm just doing stuff. Like I wouldn't have like called it anything, like had that like that term for it.
Yeah.
But I guess that's how others would see it, like a kind of like a community engaged art. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge part of my practice. But I also make paintings, as you know, oil paintings, in the studio. And for a long time, my painting practice in the studio was very isolating is maybe not the right word, solitary. Like I
Sure.
would go into the studio, I'd paint for 8 hours and I'd leave. Like nobody would see me, and I would just like do my thing. But in the last, I don't know, like maybe, yeah, 6 or 7 years, um, dialogue with my participants and who the people in the paintings, recording dialogue, having long photo sessions, and using kind of a much more collaborative process to make my paintings
Yeah.
has really emerged. And so it's very relational, and it's very reflective of the things that are happening in my life day to day, month to month, year to year, people I'm meeting, conversations I'm having. And so naturally, after Confluence happened in 2023 for the first time, I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to make a series about people who go to cons, particularly cosplayers, for a long time, a painting series. And I had made like a few one off paintings here and there across the years, but last year is when I really like pushed myself into making paintings about Black cosplay. So
Sure.
I
Yeah.
am now you're really seeing like that through line between Confluence and the paintings I'm making right now, because my studio is just like full of images of cosplayers.
I love that, honestly. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's cool to like be working in public space and community space on this project, Confluence, and creating space for people to gather, and then having a version of that essentially in my oil painting. Um, but it's just like, translated differently, but it's like
Yeah.
the stories are merging, the visuals are merging. It's really cool. I feel like I'm almost talking about it too much. Like when I'm out and about, it's like I'm either talking about my painting series or I'm talking about Confluence, but like it's kind of just like everything I'm thinking about right
Sure.
now.
I mean, yeah, fandom is about art and it's about community.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I get that. After I started this podcast, I started having dreams about conventions.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
I mean, conventions can be just like heaven, like
yeah,
it's just so much fun. I mean, it really is my happy place. And I
sure.
love, yeah, just hanging out, just seeing people living their best life, like
Yeah.
having the best time. Yeah, that joy is very magnetic.
Yeah. Um, what is a joyful moment that you've had at a convention?
Oh my gosh. Well, I just came back from San Diego Comic-Con.
Okay,
So of
yeah,
course
so
I have to pick something recent. And that was I got to see George Lucas talk.
oh, that's
And he's
awesome.
never been to a convention. Or sorry, he probably maybe I think he's been
I
to
feel
Star
like
Wars
okay.
Celebration,
Okay.
but not he hasn't been to Comic-Con. He hasn't been to San Diego
Wow.
Comic-Con ever. So like ever since Star Wars came out, like 70 nothing.
That's
And
awesome,
so this was the
dude.
first time he had been to San Diego Comic-Con, and he was talking about he didn't actually talk about Star Wars really at all. He was talking about his new narrative museum that he's opening in California, narrative art museum. And as an artist, I was like, oh, double plus. Like I was like,
Yay!
this is incredible. I'm gonna see him talk about an art museum that he's opening, this kind of huge legacy project. And then of course he is the creator of one of my favorite fandoms, Star Wars. Like I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I grew up on a steady diet of Star Wars from baby to
Yeah,
now with
yeah.
Andor, and just how incredible that show was. And to see him there, even though again he wasn't necessarily talking about Star Wars, he's talking about art. I was like, this is how did I get tickets to this year of all years, because it's so
I
hard to
love that.
go. So
Yeah.
like to know that I was there and he was there and I got to hear him talk. On the panel there were other folks too, Guillermo del Toro being one of them.
Oh, that is so cool.
So yeah, it was just my eyes were locked in. I was like, this is amazing. Like just sitting in there just freaking out for the whole hour. And yeah, I'm gonna hold on to that memory for a long time.
Yeah. That's really special.
Hmm.
I'm glad you got to be there.
I waited in line for 4 hours to experience that. I
Was it
might
worth
have waited 4 more.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing is worth it, honestly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. In your past experience with fandom communities or with Confluence specifically, what relationships have you formed?
Oh my gosh. So many. I've made
Yeah.
so many friends at con. I mean, and that's actually what's been so dope about Confluence is that I used to just call them my con friends. Like maybe we wouldn't see each other in the real world,
Oh, I've had that
but I'd see them
experience.
at con.
You see them every year, every
Yes,
6 months. You're
every
like,
year,
"Hi,
every 6
you."
months. Yeah, and like you're like besties the whole weekend
Yeah.
long. I know that was what it was like. But then, you know, starting my own con has really opened up a whole new side of this world, which is now I'm meeting a ton of folks who also plan cons, people who on the volunteer side, on the operational side, and it's really, and making friends with those people, and then folks I met at con, we are now collaborating on Confluence, or maybe I'm inviting them to be a speaker at Confluence. And so the relationships have deepened in like really beautiful and awesome ways, getting to know people more, getting to like, I don't know, just understand people's working habits and stuff
Yeah.
and all the ideas that we each have. It's kind of like magic. It's really cool. I had no idea my life would lead in this direction, to be honest with you. And it's just so much fun. And then I also have some friends that I have known my whole life that we would go to con together. And
Yeah.
so like that was also really special to be able to have that kind of rhythm to our friendship, right? Like
Yeah.
every July or every September or whatever, like we would go to con together and it's like something really awesome to look forward to with my friends.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really special. How do you feel like the Minnesota fandom community is unique?
I don't know. I don't know. Are we unique?
I mean,
You tell me.
I
What do you think is unique about our fandom community?
I don't know. I think it's interesting that it we're not like New York or LA, but there are still like tons of conventions here.
That is
I
true.
find that to be
That
pretty
is true.
special.
I feel like we have more conventions per capita. Like the amount of
Somebody needs to
people.
do like the data on this. Who
Yeah,
has the
I
most
am
conventions per
curious
capita?
because we really do have a lot of
We
conventions. I mean,
do.
compared to even
Yeah.
just our neighboring states,
There's like
Wisconsin,
there's
Iowa.
like websites you can go to that have most conventions that would
Yep.
happen here, and it's like there's one every weekend.
I know, I
I
know.
know.
Actually, when we were trying to plan what weekend, because we wanted to move, so Confluence was in November in 2023. We wanted to move it up a month
Okay.
because we got really lucky in 2023. It was actually really warm that weekend.
Oh,
So people were
okay.
hanging out
Yeah.
outside. I mean, warm for November. It was like 50 degrees, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like snowing or anything.
Yeah.
But we were like, we don't want to take that risk again. So we moved it up a month to October, and now it's the same weekend as other cons.
Yeah.
Whereas like the weekend that we had it in November, I think we were the only one, at least in Minnesota. There was one in
Yeah.
Wisconsin that the same weekend, and that's like tough. It's like you're gonna
It
butt up
is.
against other cons kind of no matter what. We actually, so the other con that's happening the same weekend as ours is Anime Fusion,
Oh, yeah.
and
Okay,
another
yeah.
really popular con. And so we actually connected with the organizers of Anime Fusion, and we're gonna do a discount. So if people want to go to both.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we're like, let's like actually work together instead of, because then if there's some people from Confluence that want to check out Anime Fusion, they don't have to feel like they have to choose one or
Sure.
the other.
Yeah.
And then vice versa, maybe people who've been going to Anime Fusion for years also are curious about what Confluence is about. So yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
try that and see how it goes.
That's really cool.
They're actually only like 15 minutes away from each other
Oh, that's
too.
awesome.
You
You
can
can
even just
just
like bounce back and forth, panel to panel, just like
I gotta catch that panel.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's way more intense than running around the hotel. This podcast is basically about fans being able to tell our own stories. So why do you think that it's important for fans to be telling our own stories?
Oh, that's such a good question. All your questions are great.
Thank you.
um, I think it's important for us to be able to tell our own stories because we realize that, through storytelling, the commonalities that we have as humans, as fans of this
Yeah.
particular phenomenon that is gone. Um, and I think, yeah, it just allows for that connection and relationship building, and also just like that to know that we're not alone,
Yeah.
which I think we all want to belong. We all want to connect,
Sure.
even the loners of us, like it's nice to know that, yeah, that there's other folks that have similar stories. Or maybe their story is very different. Your story is very
Sure.
different. And so being able to um, share some of things you've learned, your wisdoms, or maybe even educate, right? I think we honestly could do a little bit more listening to each other.
Yeah.
So
Probably.
seems like a net win, uh, sharing your story so that other people can, yeah, either learn something new or be like, oh yeah, that's exactly like
That's exactly what I feel.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, either way it's a win.
Hmm.
Mhm. My last question is, what are you working on right now?
Yeah,
Besides, the upcoming
I
Confluence, but you can talk
know.
about that too.
Yeah, Confluence is in 2 months, so we're kind of like, I think I do something for Confluence every single day, even if it's just like answer one email. Like
Sure.
it's definitely we're in the trenches now. Um, and then the cosplay painting series that I'm working on, it's called Us, Becoming, and that series is, yeah, I'm gonna be working on that actually for a couple of years. So I'm really excited about that. Um, and then I have a book coming out.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I kind of forgot because when you illustrate a book, um, and this is all things I'm learning.
Okay.
You finish the illustrations, and there's a long period of time before the book actually comes out.
Okay.
They're proofing and they're color matching and the printer. There's
Sure.
so many.
They're doing a lot of stuff.
There's logistics to it. And so the writers who wrote the book, Sung Young Shin and Melina Mangal, they wrote it like a year before I even got it, and probably even longer.
Wow. So this has been in the works for a
For years,
while.
multiple
Yeah.
years. And then I got the book and I had a year, which is actually a significant amount of time.
Sure.
I think it's longer than normal, but I hand painted everything.
That's incredible. That's
Like
really awesome.
over 20 paintings.
Wow.
It was a very long project. So once I handed that in at the end of last year, then they've had all year to put the book together, Learner
Okay.
Publishing, and that book is going to be coming out November 4th.
Awesome.
So that's really kind of like, even though it's not necessarily requiring any more work from me at this point, I just cannot wait to get my hands on the final book.
Yeah, you get to see it in the world.
Yes, see it in the world, see how people respond to it, and it's a beautiful autobiographical, or sorry, biographical story. It's not my story. It's not autobiographical. It's a nonfiction book about James and Grace Lee Boggs, who are two activists uh, who are based in Detroit. And it talks about their life and their work and how they came together and collaborated. It's really, really beautiful.
All right, well, that is all of my questions.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to, yeah, see all the things come together this fall.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I'm excited
will
for
you
it
be
too.
there?
Oh, I will be there, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I signed up to volunteer, so I can
Thank you for helping.
I'd love
Helping
to
us
help
make it
out.
possible.
I'd love to. Yeah, I volunteered for the first time last Convergence,
Hmm.
and I volunteered doing Takedown, and I feel like I've just had no idea how much work goes into a convention. until
So
then.
much work.
Because I just saw like the scope of things. I'm
Yep.
like taking down a couple, you know, rooms or whatever, and I'm like, there's just so much that goes into this.
And so much intention. I
Yeah,
mean, think about how much like intention and heart people put to like make that experience such a good one for
it's a
others.
lot. People
Yeah.
people really set it up,
Mhm.
and put just so much thought into it.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
The Minnesota Fandom Factor.